Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Hats Off Games. Today, we're going to be taking a beginner's look at Subnautica. Now, as you can see here in the upper right-hand corner, this is still in early access. This is a pretty recent update. They update very frequently. In regards to a lot of games out there that are in early access, they end up getting abandoned. This is certainly not one of them. It's been in early access for a considerably long amount of time, but honestly, when you're playing the game, it doesn't matter. It's absolutely gorgeous. I think it's really well done. There's a lot of story to it. There's a lot of crafting. It's a pretty impressive game. So essentially, we're looking at a semi-sandbox type of survival game set on a foreign planet that is mostly just water. So yeah, so basically we'll just kind of go and take a look at it. I'm not going to do a playthrough. I'm not going to do any sort of advanced tutorials on how to play or how to, get the most efficient mining to get the best type of crafting going on. Basically, it's just this is how to play. This is what the game is about. If you like it, buy it. If you've got it already, but you haven't played it yet, this is going to be a good primer to get you going. So let's go ahead and take a look at a couple of the options here for what the game offers. So right now I've got everything on water quality at high, fade the objects. You can basically see it right here, and you can see how I'm playing and kind of get an idea of what you're going to do. I've got about a medium level gaming system, 6-core AMD processor, decent video card, nothing fantastic, but definitely higher end than your basic home, standard home PC. So yeah, basically the settings, there's just not a lot to it. You can adjust the graphics, considerably to really make it perform well on just basic systems. So if you've got a gaming system, it's a low-end gaming system, you can still play. You're just going to turn down the graphics a bit. If you got a basic, just kind of home PC with no real dedicated graphics card, I probably would not recommend getting this game. You can probably still play it, but a lot of what the game is the beauty of it. So yeah, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. We're going to go ahead and start a new game. Now there are 4 different modes that you can jump into. Your basic mode is survival. So basically this is where you have to worry about your oxygen, your health, your water intake, as well as your food intake. This is pretty much your standard game right here, the story. Freedom, you don't have to worry about your thirst or eating, but you do have to be concerned with your oxygen and your health. So this, you still get to play through the story. You just don't have to worry about farming for food. And when I say farming, I mean gathering fish and cooking and things like that, or worry about basically getting drinkable water. This is the ocean, so it is it's non-potable water, so you do have to um, do a couple different things to get water that you can actually drink. So this basically eliminates that, so it's less of a grind, but you can still kind of run through the story. It just makes it a lot easier, a lot quicker of a game as well. Let's see here. Now you can go with a hardcore mode, which is all of the above for survival, but if you die, that's it, game over. You have to start over again. And then there's also no oxygen alerts. So you have kind of an onboard computer. This is a futuristic setting on a foreign planet, right? But the onboard computer would tell you if your oxygen's running low so you don't die. This one, it won't tell you that. So this is, I haven't played hardcore, because you can put a lot of hours into this game, and I'd hate to have 20 hours into the game and then die and have to start all over. So I don't like that idea. I think that's for me, it would kill the game. I probably wouldn't play it again. And then there's creative, which is just basically open sandbox. You have you can build whatever you want to build. You don't need to get anything. It's just basically a way to kind of explore more of the crafting, and you could build bases and things like that. So it's a neat way to get in there and try stuff out. I think it's a bit of a spoiler, because you kind of start to see some of the things that you can craft that normally through a standard survival game you would more have to discover, and I'll show you how blueprints are discovered. So let's go ahead and jump into standard survival. And basically this is the ship that we were on, and there was a pretty significant accident, and caused the ship to crash onto this planet. This is an ocean planet. There's a little bit of land on here. But the yeah, so essentially we're going to start off in this ship that's coming to a pretty nasty end here on this planet. But what happens is that we are actually fortunate enough, for whatever reason, to be able to get into an escape pod, and that's where we're going to be starting the game.
Attention. Hull failure imminent. All personnel abandon ship. Launch in 3, 2, 1.
Alright, so that part was all cinematic. And once we get out of this chair, now we've got our full movement. So essentially what we're looking at here is your standard first-person shooter type of command. So it's the WASD. So W is forward, S is backwards, A is strafe left, D is strafe to the right. And then of course the mouse is going to change your view and also direction of movement. And then also that reticle in the middle is going to basically show you what your options are when you put the reticle over something that has some sort of interaction option. Nice thing about this game is it does show, you can see right there, it tells you how to pick up the fire extinguisher. So it does kind of hold your hand for a little while to kind of get you into the game, which is really nice. But it doesn't do it obtrusively or to the point where you don't want to play the beginning portion again. So it doesn't put you through a tutorial necessarily, which, you know, on your third, fourth play, it's really bothersome to kind of continuously do the same thing. So I use my left mouse button to pick the item up, and I'm going to use my right mouse button to use it. So we're going to go ahead and put this fire out. Alright. So as you can see, the fire is now out. This is our little PDA, and it automatically brings this up.
You have suffered minor head trauma. This is considered an optimal outcome. This PDA has now rebooted in emergency mode with one directive: to keep you alive on an alien world. Please refer to the databank for detailed survival advice. Good luck.
Alright, so I'm hoping you can hear everything. There's this computerized voice, which is basically the AI that's in your suit, I believe. Through this PDA, which you'll always have on here, like you said, it's this tab. This is where you can look at your inventory. So you can see we have our fire extinguisher here. It is a grid inventory system. So some larger items will take up 4 squares. Some will take up, excuse me, 9 squares, so a 3x3 grid. So that's basically how inventory works. So in regards to how much you can carry. And then also through the PDA over to the right, you can see what items you have equipped. Now you can add certain things to your AI, certain sensors and different things like that that you can craft or find later in the game. You also have your wetsuit. Right now it's just a standard wetsuit. You can create new wetsuits, basically upgrading. You can add oxygen tank, gloves, different types of flippers, and then mask is right there. So basically if this was one of those items, you would just drag it over. So it's a fully interactive PDA, but you can see, you know, the area lighting up, and it's red because this is not compatible for that spot. Then we look at the blueprints that are available to us. I won't go through all of the blueprints right now, but basically what you're looking at is just the starting, and it kind of gives you an idea that, you know, eventually we'll be able to do a mobile vehicle bay, so we can create different vehicles, but we need certain pieces. Okay, so we have 3 different pieces that we need to find, and these are basically, you're going to find parts, and by collecting those parts, that's how you're going to create these blueprints that are missing. The solid blue, those blueprints we already have, but we might not have the equipment. to actually build them. When you hover over, you'll see what it takes to actually build these items, unless we don't have a blueprint. And then, as it says right there, ingredients unknown. So, like for example, a scanner takes a battery and some titanium. And then batteries you can find in this world, but they're all kind of on the ship and some of the other escape pods. Otherwise, you have to build the battery, and we'll get into what we need to build in just a little bit. The first thing we're going to need, though, is a repair tool. Okay, but let's go ahead and take a look at the rest of this PDA. The ping manager basically is there's going to be things in the world, and you can there's going to be like a heads-up display showing you where those things are, how far away they are from you, like 600 kilometers or whatever it might be. This is a way to kind of go in and turn some of those off, turn some of them on, and then also to change their color. So you can always say this is the escape pod, that's your home base. So let's say you can always have that as yellow. You can have different areas. You can create beacons. So you can say, okay, green beacons are going to be where I go and I find, you know, this certain type of material. Because it's a rather large map. You can download maps online, but why? That's a spoiler. You know, if you want to play the story, play as you've never been here before and explore. That's the best way to play. If it's your third or fourth playthrough, then a map is pretty convenient. So you're not forgetting where things are. Excuse me. And we have a photo manager. So as you can see right here is when you're out and about in the world, you can hit F11, and that's going to basically take a screenshot. And then you can have those photos here. And actually, in the crafting, you can put those photos into a frame and put them on a wall on like a base. It's pretty fun. It's just a nice little feature they've got. This is everything the PDA, the storyline basically is. You can go through and check that out through here. There's going to be some communications that you're going to use with the radio on board the escape pod, and any of those communications will be saved here, so you can listen to them again. And then databank is where you actually get kind of the written details, the manual, I guess. So, for example, you know, in the beginning, I would definitely recommend going through this because here, like, it talks about the radiation suit, which is one of the upgrades you can do. So basically, these are the things that you understand and know about. So here's the scanner, and it tells you what it can do. So that way you can kind of look at it and go, oh yeah, well, I definitely want this. And it gives you a reason to go in and actually make it. So I definitely recommend when you start the game just to take a peek through these items. And as you can tell, and the graphics are beautiful. They really put a ton of detail into this game. And it really makes playing it just that much more fun. Yeah. So as you can see, there's vehicles as well. You know, we saw that we don't have the ingredients to make these. Yeah. So it's just kind of I don't know, a living user manual, I guess, user reference manual. But definitely check that out. So let's go ahead and close this out, and let's take a look and see where we are. So the quick slot, you can see at the bottom of the screen, we've got those 5 little circles. Those are places where we can go to our inventory, and let's say if we wanted our fire extinguisher on 1, we would just excuse me, I apologize for that. We would just hit 1 while our mouse cursor is hovering over the item. So if we have a knife and we want that to be our primary, you know, our number 1, and then we want the extinguisher to be a number 2, we would just hover our mouse over the extinguisher and press a number 2. And then you would press it again, as you can see there, and it'll disappear and go off of the quick slot. So that's one way to just kind of really quickly just run through at least, you know, 5 different items. Escape is getting to the main menu, just like most games. And through here is where you can go and change the settings that we kind of glanced over at the very beginning. But let's get back into the game and look at the interface here. So on the left-hand side, we're going to see our oxygen. Okay, this is obviously it's staying where it needs to stay right now because we're not underwater. There is oxygen in our escape pod. Okay. To the left of that, you'll see the heart and that red line. That's our health. So we're a little damaged right now. Not too bad. Below that, apple. That's how hungry we are. And the fuller the bar, the fuller we are. So right now, if you look at that, it's basically we are 3/4 empty, 1/4 full is one way to look at that. And then at the very bottom there, green, and it's alerting me. It's like, I should eat something. But we're not going to worry about that right now. The water is basically, it's the very same. The more blue there is, the more water that we have. So right now we are 3/4 full is one way to think about it. All right, and so yeah, so that's the interface, except for the very top, I'm sorry. The very top we've got power. So we have 75 out of 75 power. And that is talking about the pod itself. So when you get in here and you start to use stuff, once you kind of fix things up, but like if you use the fabricator, which we can use right now, we can use the medical kit fabricator right now. This is an item, but you can see it's damaged, so we have to repair it with the repair tool. And it says it right there. I mean, it makes it very straightforward in how to kind of get rolling in this game. And then we can see down here, we've got storage container. Everything is pretty straightforward in regards to how you can interact with things and what's around. So it said eat something, and it actually pointed down to the storage container. This is a little bit of the tutorial, I guess. So we're going to go ahead and left click here, and it will open up the PDA. And the left hand side, we're familiar with this, is the inventory. The right hand side is whatever storage unit we're looking at. Okay, so right now we're looking at that chest within the escape pod. So we can leave everything here. You basically just hover over something, and I'll tell you exactly what it is and what it does. And it even shows you if you want to, you can drag and drop. It automatically places it in the most upper left-hand corner. Or what you can do, as it says in the tooltip there, is you can just right-click on it and automatically switches the container. And then that works in both directions. So let's just go ahead and take one of these food, and we'll take both of the water. And then we will go ahead and, when we're hovering over in our inventory, it shows that we can consume or switch container again. So we're going to go ahead and consume the food. Now, before I do that, keep an eye on the bottom left. We're at 25% right now. So once I eat this, it's going to give us 75 food. So, which is 75% in a sense. So you can look at that as being, we should be at 100% once we eat this, right? There we go, 100%. And then the water is going to give us 20. And if you look down there, we're at 54. So we're going to consume this, and that should bring us at 74. There we go. That's how that works, okay? Let's go ahead and grab a flare, and then when we get out of here, we'll take a look at the flare. But let's go ahead and take a look at what we can while we're still in here. So let's open up the medical kit fabricator. This is basically where we can grab med kits, okay? It is a certain amount of time. If you look at the reticle, it's very small, but right now it's showing 1%. Now it's 2%. So gradually that's going to go up, and once it hits 100%, that means there is another med kit that's going to be available to you. Okay, so this just does it on its own, and I believe as long as the pod has power, it'll do that. Okay, and if we look at our inventory, we can see that we have this med kit, and since we just picked it up, it faded out now, but it was blinking, and it had a little, I think it was an exclamation mark to show we just picked it up, as in it's something new to us. So if we hover over, we can see what it does. Now, it doesn't tell us, unfortunately, how much health it gives back to us. So we'll experiment with that a little bit later, see what it does. But you can see right here, when we go to our inventory, it'll give the numbers. When we're out of our inventory, it does not.
Detecting increased local radiation levels. Trend is consistent with damage to the Aurora's drive core sustained during planet fall.
So the Aurora is the ship that we came in on. But at the bottom left there, we see the heart, we see the apple, and the water. When we go to our tab, it gives us the actual numbers. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Now let's go look at the fabricator. This is basically where you're going to do all of your crafting. Okay, so there are 4 main categories that you can craft. We've got resources, and then within the resources there are 2 subcategories. We have basic materials, and we have electronics. So let's go ahead and click on the basic materials, and right now we have 5 different things that we can produce. Now when you hover over it, it'll tell you exactly what is needed to produce this titanium. You need metal salvage, and it's going to give you 4 titanium per metal salvage. So you see in the explanation there, we got X4. That means times 4. So 4 titanium, and then below that tells you what it is, or what you need, excuse me, to make that material. Titanium ingots, you need 10 titanium. And so you would basically need 3 metal salvage, and that will get you 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, excuse me, math is hard. It gets you 12 titanium, so you would be able to make 1 ingot with 2 titanium left over. Some items require titanium, some items to craft require ingots. But yeah, then we got silicone rubber, glass, bleach, and I'm not going to go over all of this, but basically I'm just going to kind of give you the general idea. The other resource is electronics, and here's that battery that we were looking at earlier, because we want to make that repair tool, and it requires a battery and something else I can't remember, but I'll show it to you right now. Here we can actually make our water, and then later we can make food as well. And water, we can use one of the creatures that we discover out in the ocean, or we can use bleach to disinfect water. Okay, as you can see right there, it says filtered water, ingredients unknown, because we haven't gone out into the world and done any discovery. That's the exploration part of this game. Personal stuff, we've got equipment. This is where we can add to our suit. We can make fins if we need first aid kits, and we can't wait for the thing on the wall to make them. We could do that here, little things like that. Tools, now this is where we're going to get our scanner, which we definitely want a scanner, but first of all we're going to want a repair tool. Okay, so when we look at here, we need silicone rubber, sulfur, and titanium. Now sulfur is a raw resource, so we're going to find sulfur out in the world. Titanium we're going to find out in the world. Silicone rubber, we're going to have to actually make that. Okay, and then we have some deployables that we can make, and these are just basically, it's a little locker for more storage, the mobile vehicle bay, which is where we can make the big vehicles, and the Sea Glide is basically a handheld jet ski in a sense. You hold it and you point it, and it's got a fan or propeller, and it propels you through the water. It's also got a light on it, and it also has a kind of a pseudo mapping topography type of a display. So you'll want a Sea Glide, but you have to find the components first. So we know that we want to build the repair tool. So we're going to go out in the world, find the sulfur and titanium. Now, where do we get silicone rubber? That's a raw resource. So we're going to go under basic materials, silicone rubber, and it says that we need some creep vine seed clusters. For every one of those, we'll get 2 silicone rubber. And we only need 1. Yep, we only need 1. Okay, so let's go out in the world and take a peek. Over here, we've got a radio. It's damaged. We can't use it. So, yeah, that's everything in the escape pod. And this is actual information here. As you can see right there, we've got these solar power cells, each at 25. That's where we get, if you look at the top again, that's where we get the 75 power. So this is actual showing you the radio is broken. Once we fix it, that won't say offline anymore. All of this will change once we do all the repairs in here. Okay. And once we get this repaired, it'll actually charge. So we can use energy with the fabricator, but I don't think the solar powers are going to, panels are going to work, so they won't recharge. So once you run out of power, you can't do anything. Okay. So repair tool is definitely a priority. And this is it.
Suffered orbital hull failure. Cause unknown. 0 human life signs detected.
All right, so I really hope you can hear the music and the sounds and everything. But yeah, this is the world we landed on, and honestly, I think it's pretty spectacular. I mean, obviously, we're just looking at water right now. This is the main ship that had come down and crashed. We saw some natural bird-like creatures. They look like stingrays, but they're flying, right? Let's see. This moon This is actually traveling. Those clouds and the moon are traveling. So this is a day and night cycle. At night, there are certain creatures in the water that become a little more active. And then there's a lot of phosphorescent in the oceans as well. So you get to see a lot more of that. But it's a pretty stunningly beautiful, beautiful world. And then also there's no music right now, but there are sounds. But like when we came out of the pod, I don't know if you heard it or not. If not, it's this very dramatic, small, like couple second set of music, and adds so much atmosphere. And they have that throughout the entire game. So this game really sucks you in to what you're doing. So if you're playing, I definitely recommend, have the headphones or have some nice speakers. You're gonna want the audio to be playing. Of course, after quite a few hours into it, maybe you won't want that anymore. But here we go. All right, so we are now in the water, and the way I jumped off of my escape pod is using the space bar, which is your jump. There are two ways to get into the escape pod and out. And this is the little hatch at the bottom of it. And then also when you're in the water, the WASD, so W is forward, or the direction that your reticle is pointed. Strafe right is D, strafe left is A, go backwards is S. And then you just point down if you want to dive and hit the W, so you're moving forward. Or point up if you want to go towards the surface and hit W. Or you can hit the space bar. Okay. So one way to kind of travel is you can look down, and then you can use the space bar and the W, and that's going to basically allow you to look down but move forward, so that you don't have to always do this to move forward and then have to look down. Or you're constantly moving down and then having to move back up, and kind of run through the water like a dolphin. Instead, you can use the W and the space bar kind of in combination. And that way you can kind of look at the ground as you're moving.
Oxygen.
All right, so that is the automated system telling you your oxygen's low. So if you look at it, we've got 3 seconds left. So we start to black out. So once the screen can go completely black, and at that point you've got a couple like split seconds before you're going to die. And since we're just in basic survival mode, what happens is that we lose everything that we have on us. I believe I'll have to test that actually. It's been a while since I've allowed myself to die. But I believe you lose everything that's on you, but you start back at your home base, your escape pod. And as you can see, there's that little marker showing you that it's 25, 26, 28 meters away, and it's orange because we changed it in the settings, okay? All right, so this is the ocean. So you can see a lot of life down here. Almost all of the creatures you see you can interact with in one fashion or another, okay? They all have their own particular stats, different characteristics. And once we get a scanner, you can actually come down and scan these creatures. And you have to hold it on them for a few seconds, so you have to kind of chase them around while you're doing it. And then it basically will give you more information on that creature, and you can then look at that information in your database here. Okay. We've got the environment itself. There's a lot of plants that you can interact with, basically pick. And it'll tell you, anytime you have your reticle over something you can interact with, it'll tell you what you can do with it. And these are all, ingredients to different crafting, as well as edibles. So, for example, let's just go ahead and grab this fish. And now we discovered this peeper. Okay, and it automatically will put it into your hotkey. So when you're going to use something that's in your hand, just like with the fire extinguisher, you're going to use the right mouse button to use it. In this case, what you do with the fish is you let go of it, okay? So you're going to use your left mouse button to grab onto it, And then what you can do is just scroll. And using the scroll wheel, go through your hotkey stuff. Okay? There's 5 circles at the bottom there. If you don't want to be holding anything at all, then you're just going to go ahead and, like, for example, the flare is at hotkey 1.
Oxygen.
You just hit hotkey 1 again and it puts it away. Okay? So let's go ahead and get some oxygen. Now, as you can tell, we have to come up pretty frequently. Okay? So one of the upgrades that we have, if we look at our inventory, is oxygen tank. Okay? So that oxygen tank is going to allow us to stay underwater a lot longer and allow us to go deeper. Right now we're in a very particular area called the, I think it's the safe shallows. So basically this is an area that's pretty harmless. I mean, there are things that will get you, but comparatively it's a pretty tame area. Okay. So in the beginning I would, just explore for a little while. You can't explore forever because you're constantly you're consuming your water and your food. But definitely when you start playing, just kind of check the world out. Okay, those are acid mushrooms. Excellent. Okay, these are coral shell plates. And that way when you start seeing like ingredients, you know what they look like. You start to be familiar with things. Also, you realize like, okay, what is this? This is nothing. So now when you're out swimming around, you're not going to constantly go checking things that are meaningless. So I'd explore your area. And don't worry about getting lost, okay? Because you'll always have that little symbol right there, that little image. Even if you're 1,000 meters away, that'll still be there and just show 1,000. And then at the very top, you see it shows you your depth. Because as you go deeper, there's pressure involved. We're not going to hit, to the point where the pressure is going to be an issue here, but there are parts of the deep, deep ocean where pressure is an issue, okay? And then below that is kind of that ring. Right now it means nothing, but once you construct a compass, it'll show you the cardinal directions. Yeah, so I would just kind of look around and see what things are all, what they're all about. Oxygen is going to be your biggest enemy at the beginning. Like, you could come down and start to explore, and like, oh, a little cave system here. And then all of a sudden, you hear some noises, you start to run away. We just got hit.
In the local cave systems, sulfur is an essential component of the repair tool.
Alright, so that's at sulfur. So, there we go, there's the sulfur. That was one of the ingredients we were looking for. Now, I'm not going to spoil anything, but I'll show you this. Oh, that's an egg. You do have limited inventory, but as you can see, this is pretty extensive. And if I didn't make it out of that cave system, I could die in there pretty easily. So oxygen is going to be your biggest enemy. Okay. So even in the safe area here, you can still die. Okay. But we've got one of the things that we needed. Alright, and so we're going to cruise on through here real quick. All this different fish. And you can see you're here, like those mushrooms are actually luminescent, so they're lighting up, which is beautiful. And then we've got these little stones. This is basically how you mine, okay? And it shows you that you would right-click on that to mine. So you'd click on it a few times, like you're banging on it. And then the actual product that comes out, you click on it again to catch it. So basically you would just constantly, repeatedly click, okay? So when we go to our menu here, we see we found the sulfur, some titanium, and some copper ore, okay?
Copper is an essential component of all powered equipment.
Oops, sorry.
Your probability of survival has just increased to unlikely, but plausible.
So, and that's another thing about this game, is that there's humor. The AI does have humor. So if you heard that, then you would have heard that, our chances of survival have increased to unlikely. It's just little bits of humor. It's not in your face trying to be super funny, which can be somewhat annoying sometimes, but it's just enough to kind of keep it fun and somewhat lighthearted, you know, a little bit. It's nice to have a little bit of that. So we found some brain coral here. So what the brain coral, as you can just see, is it spits out these big bubbles and it creates oxygen. So there are certain spots farther down below, because there's tons of different biomes. Like, the map is incredible. If you have not played this game, it is incredible. But there are some spots that are really far down, and that brain coral will allow you to go down there and you know, survive a little bit longer because you've got a source of oxygen down there. But right now, what we need, look at that. The water's all green from the plant life, the algae life here. Now, when we saw the ingredients that we needed, and the sun's starting to set too. And there's the moon. One of the ingredients was from one of these plants. It was one of the seeds. And the image it showed is, you know, resembling these.
Life on this planet grows in unusually distinct and diverse ecological biomes. Further study recommended.
Alright, so let's go ahead and grab one of these.
New blueprint acquired.
Alright, so we got a new blueprint, which is, I believe that's just the rubber, right? Now, as you saw down there, there was kind of a large, let's get some oxygen. And it's going to get dark. I mean, look at this. And look at that moon. It's crazy. But, you can go back down. And there are some spots where it's going to be basically pitch black at night. Especially the deeper you go. So we actually brought some water, so let's go ahead and consume this water. There we go.
Signs stabilizing.
And I don't know if you heard that, but that was a big scream, growly kind of a thing. So you know that's bad, right? In this biome, this is the first place that you're going to find aggressive creatures. Is here, okay? But you know, you can explore and play with them on your own, literally play with them. Alright, so let's go back to our base because we got the 3 ingredients. Where to go? There it is. You can see it's, you know, how bright it is. It's right there. You're not going to get lost in this game in regards to if you put beacons or escape pods. But, like, if, you know, let's say there was a resource over there you couldn't pick up, you know, there's no marker unless you put a beacon down. So that's where the directions come into play. But you can always use, like, the aurora as a gauge versus this. And you get 2 points of reference.
Caution.
And that can help you kind of...
Continued degradation of the aurora's drive core may result in a quantum detonation. Continuing to monitor.
So basically this crash, you know, it's got a nuclear drive on this ship and things aren't going well. But yeah, let's go ahead and... I love the way this just lights up. It's beautiful. But let's go ahead and get back into our escape pod. And let's go ahead and get it repaired. So we're going to go to our fabricator. And you can see here, this means that we now have resources to where we can actually craft some stuff. Or it means that we've learned new blueprints. So basically it's, hey, there's new stuff here we haven't seen or been able to use before. And you can see it's all grayed out except for 2 spots. We can make lubricant, which is the creepvine seed cluster that we got, but we don't want to make lubricant quite yet. And then the other blue one is the silicone rubber, and it's going to make 2 of them with the creepvine cluster. And the creepvine were those large, you know, long green plants, and we grabbed some seeds, which were the glowing or yellow bulbs, as you can see in this image. But we want to make the rubber. There it is. And then we also want to make, well, let's see. We grabbed fish, so we can cook some fish, so we can eat it. Now you can just cook basic fish. So basically, it just takes a fish, it'll cook it. Now
the fabricator cooks small organisms while disposing of the skeletal structure, bodily fluids, and internal organs, thus rendering them safe for human consumption.
All right, so that's one way to do it. And you check in your inventory here. Actually, we'll escape out of this and then look at the inventory. You'll see it's cooked pepper. It shows you how much food you get. It shows how it affects your fluid. So let's go ahead and eat this.
Vital signs stabilizing.
Excellent. Okay. You can eat them raw as well, but the benefits aren't nearly as good. Also, if you noticed, there's cured food. Here you need fish and then also salt. And then the good thing about that is that the food lasts. Whereas if you just cook it, it doesn't last very long. It will actually spoil and become rotten. So, you know, finding salt is always a good thing so you can make your cured food. And then with water, we didn't grab, there's a fish out there that will give you water basically through this process here. But we want to make the repair, so let's see. We can make a knife. We can make flare, but we want to make the repair tool. So let's make that. Now, when you're out and about, you're going to grab multiples of those resources. We only grabbed one of each just because I wanted to craft one item just to show you how it was done. So it automatically, at the bottom, you can see there, it automatically put it in my next available slot there. So basically, your character just touched the tip of it, and it hurt his finger. But it shows, you know, it basically holds it out like a gun, like a first-person shooter. But we're going to go towards the sparking thing. And you can see now, as you can see now, it's at 40%. So we're going to go ahead and use the right mouse button, which will start repair. 90, 95, and we are back up and going. Lights come on. And the smoke should start to filter out here. Should start to filter out. Maybe I need to repair everything. Let's repair the radio. There we go. Radio's up and going. There we go. Now the smoke's gone. And we have a fully functioning... Throughout the game, you're going to be receiving messages, and the messages are, they're going to vary in you know, what they are. Some are going to be like, oh, there was another escape pod. This is where it is. Go investigate. Some are going to be stories. Some are, you know, just different things. So I don't want to get in detail. I want you to discover it on your own. And I don't know, do we have any more water? I keep doing that. And you can see everything else is here. Status is okay, so it's all changed. So our ship is back to being good. All right, so let's go ahead and I think we're pretty much good, actually. This is a good primer. This is a good start. You know, after this video, you're going to be, you know, ready to kind of get started in playing this game. It's not tough to get started. There's a bit of grinding. So, you know, you have to get used to that. But the grinding really starts to calm down once you get into your medium level and high-end crafting. Just like most survival crafting type games. In the beginning, it's just a lot of, like, you know, mining for this type of material. As it progresses, it's a matter of combining all these other materials. And then eventually, you know, you get this small little submersible. There's a little... suit that you can get in that's got claws, and then there's this huge submarine, and you can make bases. The bases, you can have, you know, storage in there. You can have big pools, aquariums. You can grab these eggs. You can raise monsters. You can grab, or not monsters, sea creatures in the aquariums. You can also plant some of the plant seeds and then grow some of the plants that are in the ocean. There's just so much stuff. You can upgrade your ships. You explore the Aurora. Yeah, I mean, there's just so much to do, and this is early access. And these developers, it's very regularly, there are updates. You get a lot of...
Fluid intake immediately.
You get a lot of, like, your standard just bug fix type updates, but they'll also put in big updates. Like new creatures, new areas of the map, new stories. They'll open up different spots in the Aurora. They'll add things way out there and way out there. I mean, it is incredible. And if you like, you know, survival crafting type games, then I highly, highly recommend Subnautica. I love it. It's atmospheric. I've played it for hours and hours, and I don't get really sick of it. In the beginning, it's tough to get through that grind, but you know, that's just part of the survival crafting type of games. Yeah, I enjoy it every time I sit down to play. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you guys want to see me go a little bit further and actually maybe do a playthrough or get into some of the bigger crafting, just leave a comment down below, let me know, and we'll go ahead and do that. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and jump into another game and kind of do the same thing. I might get back into the Neo Scavenger. That was something I did a couple years back, and I'm still getting people asking about more videos on that. So I might kind of catch up where I left off there. I'm not sure because it's been a long time since I played that game, so I'll need to get reacquainted with it before I can actually consider a beginner's guide. Yeah. So thanks so much for tuning in here. I really do appreciate it. You know, do what you need to do down in the comments. You can like, subscribe if you want to. I think the biggest advantage to any of these videos, YouTube, are the comments. If you've got questions, someone else might have an answer, or if someone else has got a question, answer it for them. You know, this is where it really pays off. Yeah. Again, thanks so much. I appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next video. And hopefully it won't be another 2.5 years before that happens. All right, take care, everybody.